Funding for Shaperillis is provided by
Squarespace, the sponsor of today's video. Sometime last year, I remember scrolling through Twitter and being absolutely gobsmacked by a certain headline. K-pop Demon Hunters dethrones Red Notice as the most watched movie in Netflix history. And all I could tweet in response to that was, what the fuck is Red Notice? That tweet really popped off, so clearly a lot of people share the sentiment. And a little while later, I remember seeing a post listing the entire top 10 most watched Netflix original movies of all time. To which I realized, oh my god, I've only ever heard of 3 of these. K-pop Demon Hunters, Don't Look Up, and Bird Box. And I hadn't even seen Bird Box. I just remember it being a big deal like 8 years ago. The rest of these, huh? What? I like to think I'm pretty in the know about movies that release, but I legit have no idea what any of these other 7 are. And that got me thinking. Maybe the reason I never heard of these movies is because no one ever talks about them. But how can that be true? They're the most popular original movies on the entire platform. At least, it says the rankings are based on total views in the first 91 days of release, and then they stop counting. But still, that's 3 whole months for these movies to accrue these crazy view counts. Clearly, they're all very popular, so why does it seem like barely any of them have any staying power? Could it be that Netflix original movies are generally made to be disposable? No, that's ridiculous. Clearly these movies are watched by so many people for a reason, right? There has to be a reason, right? Well, that's what I wanted to challenge myself to find. Are any of the top 10 most popular Netflix original movies good? You know, besides K-pop Demon Hunters, that's kind of a foregone conclusion. How about these other ones? Do any of them deserve their status as some of the most viewed films in the history of Netflix? Seriously, is there a single one of them that is actually worth watching? Well, I'm gonna be honest, this is one of the toughest videos I've ever had to do. Holy shit, these were mostly unbearable. I considered giving up after movie 1. I mean, no one asked for this video. It was such a dumb idea. I don't know how much more of this shit I could bear. But I stuck with the video idea because I know you guys like to watch me suffer. Plus, I mean, I was genuinely curious. There has to be one non-K-pop movie in here that's good, right? Surely there's one. Well, I guess you'll just have to find out with me. Instead of going from worst to best or best to worst or whatever, let's do something a little different and go by the order Netflix provided. From least viewed to most viewed. Here are the top 10 Netflix movies of all time, apparently. We're in for a treat today, folks. We're off to an amazing start. Damsel is really bad. It's really bad this time. Basically, this movie centers around a young woman in medieval times played by Millie Bobby Brown. And her name is Elodie. Wow, that's so cool. Cause she has another famous character whose name starts with L. Yeah, right off the bat, that shows such a colossal failure of imagination. This is a completely original story and original character whose name doesn't go anywhere beyond her Stranger Things reference. That's great. So anyway, she gets an invitation to marry this prince across the sea. And her family is really poor, so her dad's like, do it. But she doesn't want to get married. She's a free spirit. Oh, fucking brother, we've heard this a million times. We don't find out anything about her actual likes or what her personality is. All we know is she doesn't like being married off and talking to these regal people. She's rude to them because that's how she is. She's so headstrong and she speaks her mind. And she has absolutely zero personality outside of that. That also might have something to do with the fact that Millie Bobby Brown is not good in this. She's really bland and she's never great at conveying strong emotion at any point in this film. I haven't seen enough other things she's in to claim she's a bad actress in general, but all I'm saying is I read some Letterboxd reviews that said we need to free Millie Bobby Brown from the Netflix mines, and to that I say, are you sure that isn't exactly where she wants to be? She executive produced this movie. In theory, this is something she wanted to get made. Even though watching her performance, she seems very checked out during a lot of it. Oh, but we haven't even gotten to the big twist yet. It turns out she was married off because there's a ritual where the new brides in the kingdom mix their blood with the prince. And then they get thrown into a pit where there's a dragon who has demanded there be a sacrifice of someone of royal blood for centuries. That's kind of a neat twist, I guess. Too bad the dragon is the dumbest motherfucker alive. Oh my god, this thing is so bad at killing her. I mean, you could definitely argue she's toying with her prey and savoring the hunt a bit, but then she tries to kill her with the fire breath and she just can't aim for shit. She lets Millie Bobby Brown get away so often. How is she this incompetent? At one point, Millie Bobby Brown is staring her down and saying, "Go ahead, use your fire breath on me." So the dragon is like, "Duh, okay." And she does so. But she failed to account for the fact that Millie Bobby Brown could jump out of the way before that happens. So instead, the fire gets reflected off this wall and splashes back on the dragon, and she's almost f***ing dead. This is embarrassing. It's not like the dragon is a dumb beast either. She can talk. She's clearly intelligent. Except, not actually. This movie is so stupid. I can't do this. I'm sorry, I'm tapping out. We're one movie in and I need someone else to tag in. Jess, you watch this with me. Can you take over this segment for a bit?
Sure. Okay, honey. You forgot to mention the part where the prince and Elodie have a conversation that's supposed to be them getting to know each other for the first time. And before Elodie meets him, she's like, "I hope he's kind and well-read," because she doesn't care whether he's handsome or rich because she's not shallow, but then when she actually gets a chance to ask him questions to find out if he's kind or well-read, the only question she asks is, "Do you like me?" Like this is supposed to be their getting to know you conversation. How is he supposed to know whether he likes you yet or not? That is the first thing she asks. I agreed to watch this movie with you because the premise sounded interesting, but I've seen this exact premise done way better many other times. I got more characterization and empathy for Princess Cena in Jailbreak Princess in less than 50 pages than I had for Elodie in 2 hours. Also, this movie does not resolve its plot threads. The only scene I found interesting and intriguing was when she sees writing on the cave wall and discovers that there was a girl before her who wrote all these clues on how to escape because that girl presumably made it out and then they never actually reveal what happened to her in the end. Did she just escape and then never warn anyone about the prince who is sending young girls to their deaths? Oh yeah, and about that girl. The first thing Elodie sees that she's written on the wall is the phrase "safe," to indicate that a certain spot in the caverns is a safe zone. But then later in the movie, while the dragon is attacking her, she runs down a cave corridor and there, written on the wall, are the words, "not safe." Slow clap. Slow clap. I actually laughed out loud. Guys, the writing in this movie is not good. I double-checked the wiki to make sure we don't actually find out what happened to Victoria, the name of the girl who was in the cave, because I wanted to make sure I didn't just, forget and miss something where her fate was implied, and the wiki said, no, Victoria's fate was never confirmed, but it also said maybe she was the skeleton in that corridor that had "not safe" written on the wall, and she used her last dying moments to write, "Uh-oh, this isn't a safe area." Yeah, yes, not a good movie. They tried to have the veneer of period-accurate dialogue, but then I think they just gave up because Eleven talks like a modern teenager and says stuff like girl talk and guilt-tripped by 30 minutes in. And on a similar note, she's always getting burned or falling massive heights or running around in dirty caves, but she still manages to have perfect pink lip gloss and full mascara in every shot. I didn't know they invented waterproof mascara in the medieval period. Angela Bassett is in this movie, and she plays the mean stepmom, who is mean because she's the stepmom, and Millie Bobby Brown calls her stepmom, but then, at the end of the movie, she's nice, because she gets her, sort of redemption arc, and Millie Bobby Brown calls her mother, and it's wow, character development! I saw some Letterboxd reviews that said parts of this movie were cool, and I just have to ask, where? This feels like one of those movies that fictional characters in a TV show watch and talk about, rather than a real movie made by real humans. Although I think that might be a running theme among Netflix original movies. Okay, James, have I said enough?
Oh yeah, I think I've mostly recovered from my coma now, so I can take over. Cool. So Millie Bobby Brown has a chance to kill the dragon, but then she's like, "No, I'm not gonna do it. You see, I'm not actually of royal blood. You were tricked." So they team up because they're a pair of girl bosses. Never mind the fact that the dragon has been murdering innocent girls for centuries and doesn't feel remorse about that. She's literally only mad that the girls she was murdering aren't actually part of the royal family. This dragon's kind of an asshole, actually. You know, this whole thing started because the king centuries ago killed 3 of her babies. But like, you'd think they would call it even after she got to kill 3 of the royal family members. Instead, she just keeps this shit going for literal centuries, even though at that point, the girls she'd be murdering would have nothing to do with her children getting murdered, whether they're of royal blood or not. I don't like the dragon. So at the end of the movie, Millie Bobby Brown comes back to the kingdom and interrupts the prince's latest wedding. She tells this new soon-to-be bride slash dragon food to run, and the girl just does. She has absolutely no questions about why her wedding is getting interrupted by some random woman wearing a rag and perfect mascara and lip gloss. Anyway, the evil queen, Robin Wright, is like, "Grr, curse you, you should have died. We are not afraid of you." And Millie Bobby Brown is like, "It's not me you should fear, it's her." And then the dragon shows up to kill everyone in the kingdom. I actually got a little excited because this seems like it could be a cool sequence. Just seeing this dragon tear people to shreds and murderize all of them. Instead, it breathes fire and everyone stands perfectly still and gets caught in the fire, and Robin Wright screams no, and that's the end. Millie Bobby Brown leaves the kingdom with her sister and her stepmother, and oh yeah, her father died, I guess. He died to the dragon. I actually forgot that until just now. She and the dragon are girl boss buddies, even though the dragon killed her father and almost killed her sister. It's okay, guys. She says she is sorry. Anyway, that's Damsel. It's stupid, it's boring, the effects look really bad, the performances all suck. Angela Bassett doesn't even do the thing in this movie. What a ripoff. Surely it can't get worse than this, though. Right? I'm not even gonna use that as a cliffhanger. I'm gonna be honest, you guys. After this one movie, I was seriously considering scrapping the whole project. This was a soul-draining experience I willingly put myself through for no reason. And the idea of having to do it again 9 times? Well, 8, because KPop Demon Hunters is good, but you know what I mean. But I stuck to it, because what else do I have to do? Those 4 charity videos I have lined up? Pshaw, no one wants to hear my thoughts on Jim Carrey movies or The Bad Guys. You come to my channel to hear my takes on The Gray Man.
Before we continue on to the next godforsaken movie, I want to bring your attention to the fact that Netflix is a website. And do you know what else is a website? Squarespace. Well, actually, it's more of a website maker. You get it, it's Squarespace, we're talking about it now. Squarespace is a wonderful online website builder that enables you to create beautiful websites for your business or personal hobby. I adore how easy they make it to showcase your expertise and engage clients with video content on your website. You can make stunning video libraries and even monetize your content by adding a paywall. Perfect for online courses, exclusive tutorials, and premium workshops. If you want to get discovered fast, that's where integrated Squarespace SEO tools come in. Every website is optimized to be indexed with meta descriptions, an auto-generated sitemap, and more, letting you pop up more often on search engines and attract way more customers. Squarespace also offers lots of built-in donation tools. You can create a professional, on-brand website that makes it easy to accept one-time or recurring contributions, and engage your supporters. Use built-in email campaigns and marketing tools to connect with your community and inspire more people to support your cause. Check out squarespace.com/ShapeRealist for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, use promo code ShapeRealist to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain.
I only work in black, and sometimes very, very dark gray.
Well, Chowder, I'm impressed with The Gray Man. It's even worse than Damsel. Oh my god, this movie is so boring. It's one of the most disposable, generic action movies I've ever seen in my life. Like, have you ever seen a Mission Impossible movie, but with all the cool action, charisma, and sauce surgically removed until we're left with this dry, decaying husk? We even have Chris Evans with a weird mustache as the villain, because hey, they did that with Henry Cavill in Mission Impossible. He was a villain with a weird mustache. That's what this movie does. It just takes elements you've seen a million times before and just does them again, but with absolutely zero personality. It's like whoever directed this movie watched Captain America: The Winter Soldier and just copied the general plot of a soldier being on the run from his agency. Who did direct this movie anyway? Oh, that makes a lot more sense. Legit, I had no idea watching this that this was a Russo brothers film. But as soon as I saw their names in the credits, everything clicked. You know the Russo brothers. Probably most famous for directing iconic episodes of Community, like the paintball episode. Oh yeah, and they did some Marvel shit or whatever. Yes, these guys are the duo behind Winter Soldier, Civil War, Avengers Infinity War, and Avengers Endgame. Not to mention the upcoming Avengers Doomsday. Ooh! And it's no secret that once they concluded their immensely financially successful run of those 4 Marvel movies, they kind of failed to do anything good ever again. Because here's the thing, I like all their Marvel movies. I know it's hip these days to shit on the entirety of the MCU, but I'm not gonna turn around and say those movies that I had a great time with are awful or anything. I still think Winter Soldier and Infinity War are some of my favorite comic book movies, and the direction isn't half bad in those. Neither is the script. I mean, yeah, there are Marvelisms, obviously, but they have funny banter and charming characters with decent dynamics. I don't think the screenwriters of their MCU films, Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely, did that bad a job either. The scripts to these specific MCU films are pretty solid. So now we have an original action movie with Joe Russo collaborating with Marcus and McFeely on the script, and the 2 Russo brothers at the helm as directors. Surely the movie will be at least decent, right? Yeah, no, this is one of the biggest fucking pieces of shit I've ever seen. There is not a single inspired moment throughout this entire film. There is not one frame of good action in here. The entire thing is so washed out and poorly lit, with so many cuts that make it impossible to orient yourself in any of the fight scenes or epic chases. No one is giving a shit in their performances except arguably Chris Evans, who's at least trying. On paper, his villainous psycho character is kind of fun, but like, it's Chris Evans, dude. He's so woefully miscast. And it's not like he can't play assholes well. He's great at that in Knives Out and Scott Pilgrim. But those are movies that had good directors. In this movie, his smarmy, kooky, disaster bisexual performance just doesn't work at all for what the movie is. He's fully a cartoon character and he feels completely out of place, without ever being intimidating once. Everyone else, dude, I don't know, man. Ryan Gosling and Ana de Armas are sleepwalking through this movie. They have zero chemistry in this. I mean, they're not even a romantic couple, but they're supposed to have a few moments of cute banter, and those just fall completely flat. And then there's the story. Ryan Gosling is a secret agent named Six, who's ordered to kill a former agent at his agency. And the agent tells him, hey, maybe next time they're gonna order you killed. And this completely convinces Ryan Gosling to betray his agency immediately, because he's like, damn, I don't want to get killed. This is after the first mission we see him go on in the movie. See, I feel like a normal movie would establish what a normal mission looks like for this guy, and then build up a little bit to the moment where he betrays the agency. You know, that's kind of what those Mission Impossible movies do, because they're good. That's what the fucking Winter Soldier did. Remember that movie, you idiots? You made it! Anyway, he asks an old guy he's friends with to help him get out of there. But oh no, the old guy's niece gets kidnapped. Do we know anything about this niece character? No. But you see, this is where the brilliant minds of the Russo brothers and their screenwriting buddies are put to great use. After the girl is kidnapped, we then get a 10-minute flashback scene to 2 years ago, when Ryan Gosling had to be the girl's bodyguard for a few days. She's annoying. They have like 2 conversations, and then she says, well, I guess we're family now. And now that those 2 conversations are done, we can cut back to the present, because now you, as an audience member, clearly care about this annoying girl, thanks to Ryan Gosling's incredibly well fleshed out relationship to her. Remember, these guys made what was at one point the highest grossing film of all time. Anyway, the story is pretty generic and whatever, and the action is truly incomprehensible. But the real star of the show here is the deeply awful dialogue. Every conversation feels either unnatural, juvenile, or overly expository. Some of the dialogue feels like a 12-year-old's idea of what sounds cool. I would give you specific examples, but I just finished watching this movie and I can't remember a single line. It's all in one ear and out the other. No. I remember one really epic line towards the end.
That would be his mistake.
Let's go! But yeah, for the most part, this is a deeply terrible script with almost no redeeming qualities. There are no surprises, there's nothing novel about any of the filmmaking. I struggled to stay awake throughout most of the second half. One thing I do remember is that at one point, Ana de Armas saves Ryan Gosling by shooting disaster bisexual Chris Evans in the butt with a tranquilizer. Then she takes Ryan Gosling and leaves. Quick question. Why don't you just shoot Chris Evans in the head? Why did you purposely leave him alive? I guess the idea is that he's an independent contractor for the agency that Ryan Gosling used to work for, and Ana de Armas still works for that agency. So maybe she doesn't want to interfere with their operation, despite the fact that she already interfered with it. She tranked him in the butt and then walked away since she just wanted to bring Ryan Gosling in. But then why didn't she just kill him and pretend it was Ryan Gosling, since he then gets right back to interfering with both of their plans? Why didn't Ryan Gosling try and convince her at all to kill him? They just walk away from the main villain of the movie. They just leave him unconscious even though there's no danger, and they would gain so much from just murdering him. Then later on, they're gonna have their stupid final battle since Chris Evans kidnapped the kid Ryan Gosling barely knows, and Ana de Armas has a sniper pointed at Chris Evans and tells Ryan Gosling that she can take the shot and end this. But no, instead he tells her to keep the kid safe while he fist fights Chris Evans instead. You want to know what would really keep the kid safe? Shooting him with the gun! It is the easiest solution in the whole damn world! At this point, I don't even know if Ryan Gosling wants this guy dead. They fight for a while, and then he nearly gets drowned, but then a lady from the agency who didn't like Chris Evans just shows up and shoots him, and then she arrests Ryan Gosling. Man, if only there was an easier way Ryan Gosling could have stopped him while also not getting arrested. But it's okay, because he escapes and he saves the kid he barely knows, and then they live happily ever after, presumably. What a waste of my fucking time. I hate this movie so damn much. The only thing at all that I got out of this was official confirmation with my own eyes that the Russos are complete and utter hacks without their Marvel security blanket. The same seems true for Chris Evans. Like, besides Knives Out, has he done anything good since Endgame? I guess he was fine representing his Scott Pilgrim role from 15 years ago in a voiceover performance. But man, other than that, it really doesn't seem like he can hack it on his own. No wonder both of them will be heading back to their Marvel comfort zone by the end of this year. Because I'm really starting to wonder if they should cook anything else again. The Russos especially. Thankfully, this is the only time they'll be showing up in this video. That atrocious looking Electric State movie didn't crack the top 10. So, good riddance. It occurred to me watching both this and Damsel that I would have much preferred to be watching War of the Worlds 2025. Like, these two are technically more competent than that movie, but that movie is the funniest shit in the world, and it kept me consistently entertained instead of bored out of my skull. See, at least when Amazon Prime whiffs, they whiff in the most deliriously entertaining way imaginable. This is already the most boring video I have ever committed to doing, and I still have 8 more of these damn things. Are you fucking serious? Okay, I have some good news. Leave the World Behind is a noted improvement over the previous 2 movies. This is the first entry in the Netflix top 10 that actually feels like a real film and not just some random tax write-off. Does that mean it's good? No. But the thing that's really infuriating is that I thought it was for the first hour or so. It was actually doing a great job at keeping me engaged as it depicted the world slowly falling apart around our main characters. Julia Roberts and Ethan Hawke are a married couple with children who take an impromptu vacation to this lovely beach town. But all sorts of strange things start happening, like the Wi-Fi is out. How will the daughter watch the Friends finale? Yeah, that's legit what she wants to do for the entire movie. She just keeps on complaining that she can't watch it. Alright. This ship randomly crashes on the beach they're on, and the owners of the house they're staying at show up and ask to stay since there was a blackout in the city, preventing them from getting home. What does all this mean? What dastardly force is behind all these strange occurrences that keep piling up over the course of the film? Well, I hope you're prepared to die with those questions. Okay. The movie does provide some answers eventually. Or at least, it speculates on what the answers could be. We get said speculation 2 hours into this 2-hour, 20-minute movie. It is almost entirely build up to a payoff that doesn't really land or even register that well. It was terrorism! Terrorists are destabilizing America and causing mass hysteria and confusion. Are the characters gonna stop them? Are they even gonna survive? I don't know, why are you asking that question? The movie's over now. It is 2 hours of existential dread and buildup that doesn't amount to anything by the end. The characters just sit around in this house, then eventually the family tries to leave, they realize the road is blocked off by an army of self-driving Teslas, and then they go back to the house and chit-chat some more. This doesn't sound like a terrible premise, and for the first hour or so, it isn't. I liked the movie and the writing and the performances, but everything just gets so stale and repetitive by the second half. We finally get to a big climax where Ethan Hawke and Mahershala Ali are begging Kevin Bacon to give them medicine for Ethan Hawke's son because his teeth are falling out. Why are his teeth falling out? I guess because he got bitten by something in the woods, like a bug or something. A bug that makes your teeth fall out, kind of like the beach that makes you old. You know, this whole movie is kind of like a Shyamalan film, but with none of the sauce. Anyway, they get the medicine to help the son with his teeth falling out issue, and Julia Roberts and Mahershala Ali's daughter scare a bunch of deer off while they're looking for Julia Roberts' daughter. Where is she? Well, you see, she found a doomsday bunker that the neighbors had, and in it they have a bunch of physical media, including the Friends finale. So she turns on the Friends finale and watches it, and then the movie is over. What? Are the characters gonna survive this? I guess they can all go in the random bunker, the owners of which have just disappeared, I guess. But what about the radiation from the bomb that just hit? Did they get affected by that radiation, except for the daughter because she's watching Friends in the basement? What kind of fucking movie is this? Again, this really isn't awful. I mean, the performances are pretty good and it's competently shot. Well, actually, let's talk about that. At first I was like, hell yeah, this movie has really cool cinematography that make the scenes come alive. But then you start to notice just how many times they do an overhead shot that pans down to ground level where the characters are. I swear to God, this happens like at least 20 times in the movie, and it gets real old real fast. It becomes especially annoying when the plot stalls and it feels like the camera is there to distract you from how boring the events of the film are. It really sucks how such a cool aspect of the cinematography soon becomes entirely stale and predictable. And the characters, I don't know, Ethan Hawke and Mahershala Ali were fine, but Julia Roberts' character is so awful in this. She's so nasty and spiteful to the people who own the house that she's staying in, to the point where it actually becomes somewhat racist. But it's not like we're not supposed to sympathize with her as she tries to keep her family together in this scary situation. So what's with all these microaggressions and just regular aggression? Why is she such a terrible person? What is the movie trying to say here? Do we need to get along with the racist, paranoid whack job Karen when a terrorist attack destabilizes America? Oh yeah, that's another thing. What a boring answer to the movie's big mystery. It's not some cool supernatural or extraterrestrial elements. It's just, what if there were terrorists? Terrorists we never see or find out the nationality of. Boring. I know the perspective of this film is meant to be limited since average people wouldn't know what's going on in a situation like this, but it ends up making for a really glacially paced and uneventful movie. It's actually kind of impressive how dull it manages to become by the end. I refuse to believe 143 million people actually sat through this until the end without turning it off. It is impressive how badly the movie fumbled its initial momentum and premise. The movie was written and directed by Sam Esmail, the creator of Mr. Robot, which I have not seen. Apparently that's good, so I'm not sure what happened here. Something far more interesting though is the fact that this movie was executive produced by the Obamas, and Barack himself gave Esmail a ton of notes on the script. You know, because he's a big expert on war crimes, and I guess he liked the book that the movie is based on. Maybe that book is good. I did see one review say that every change between the book and the movie is for the worse. Is this movie bad because of Obama's input? Did he make the script worse? I don't know, it's impossible to really say, but it's way more fun to speculate on that than continue talking about this dangerously lame movie any longer. I think that's enough talking about Leave the World Behind. The sooner I get this over with, the sooner I can not think about Netflix original movies ever again.
Back at it again at Krispy Kreme.
Back in action. Tragically not of the Looney Tunes variety. This is an action comedy starring Jamie Foxx and Cameron Diaz, who apparently came out of a 10-year retirement to be in this movie? This one? I mean, I can understand Shrek 5, but this? Okay, whatever floats your boat. I wasn't expecting much out of this movie because, well, obviously. But you know what? I'm not gonna lie, I actually had a pretty decent time with this one. It's nice, dumb fun that isn't too full of itself or completely lifeless like the previous 3 movies we covered. It reminded me of some of the better Adam Sandler action comedies like the murder mystery duology. It's kind of weird that Adam Sandler doesn't have a single movie in the Netflix top 10, now that I think about it. What was the point of that whole multi-million-dollar deal they made with him if none of the movies he makes for your platform can even beat Damsel in the ratings? Whatever, let's talk about back in action now. Jamie Foxx and Cameron Diaz play a couple of spies who fall in love and become a couple, deciding to fake their own deaths and give up the spy life once they realize she's pregnant. Now they have 2 kids who they're trying to stay connected to, even though the daughter finds them embarrassing and the son, I don't know, he's neurotic and safety obsessed, I guess. They go to a club their daughter snuck off to and beat up a bunch of guys hanging out with her. This then gets posted online, which allows their old CIA buddy to find them. Honestly, they're not exactly keeping a low profile. I don't know how a guy who works at the CIA couldn't have found them any time in the past 15 years. When they said they were gonna go underground and disappear, I assumed it would be in some other country where they could realistically hide from the CIA. But I guess they stayed in America and had a normal suburban life, and the CIA didn't find them all that time. Whatever, you're not supposed to use your brain watching these movies. So their buddy Chuck gets shot, and the bad guys are after them, led by Andrew Scott playing this very boring villain who used to date Cameron Diaz. Ooh, spicy. Do they ever do anything interesting with that dynamic? No, but ooh, spicy. Jamie Foxx and Cameron Diaz grab their kids and they go to Britain where they hid the MacGuffin Andrew Scott is after. But the bad guys track them down by pinpointing the location of the son's weird Switch Steam Deck hybrid thing. I don't know what this device is. When I first saw it, I thought it was a Wii U gamepad. Wouldn't that have made for such a bold filmmaking choice in the year 2025? Like, yeah, this kid is obsessed with the bulky controller of a failed Nintendo console that came out the same year he was born. Live a little, Netflix! Put a Wii U gamepad in one of your movies! Anyway, the plot is obviously a little dumb, and it's incredibly hard to care about what the villains are doing, but you're just kinda here for moderately passable action and fun chemistry and dialogue between Fox and Diaz. And you get that. The movie made me laugh a few times, and I honestly can't say I was hating it. We even find out that the MacGuffin is at the house of Cameron Diaz's estranged mom. They really build her and her terrible relationship with Diaz up. And I was like, okay, they've definitely got a really good older actress who's gonna chew the scenery and be super fun. And yeah, it's Glenn Close. She had quite the year between this and All's Fair, huh? I guess she was also in Wake Up Dead Man. But regardless, yeah, she's fun. She has a much younger British boy toy who is not fun. He kind of got on my nerves. Oh yeah, there's also some lame dialogue like boomers and literally can't even, but whatever, doesn't show up that much. Anyway, there's a big twist afoot. It turns out Chuck was a twist villain who faked his own death. Yeah, I mean, I figured that. This didn't really seem like the kind of movie that would have one of their friends get shot and die in front of them. So it was kind of a no-brainer that he would come back and be revealed to be a twist villain. Yeah, so he wants to sell the MacGuffin and make a bunch of money, so he kidnaps the kids and flies off. Honestly, I'm not sure why he doesn't just demand that Fox and Diaz back off entirely, or else he'll kill the kids. Like, he could have left one guard here at the mansion to ensure they didn't try anything. Later, when they mess up his deal or whatever, he takes the kids on a boat, and he doesn't even attempt to tell them to stand down, or else he'll shoot the kids. He's really bad at his job. Oh, wait, that's right. You're not supposed to use your brain with this movie. I do keep forgetting that. The action is usually decent in the movie, with some kind of fun moves they pull off. But the climax is at night, and you can't see shit, because this is a modern movie, and that is the standard. So whatever, they save the day, and they go back to their life like nothing happened. But it turns out, Andrew Scott, who's a good guy now, tells them that Chuck might have survived, and we're gonna need the help of Cameron Diaz's dad. Wow, a sequel tease. I mean, I guess if this really is the 8th highest viewed movie on Netflix. Wait, 8th? 7th. I mean, I guess if this really is the 7th highest viewed movie on Netflix, we might as well get a sequel with some other rando, epic, older actor to be in this. Harrison Ford? Kurt Russell? Jeff Bridges? Danny DeVito? The possibilities are endless. Back in action too, can't wait to see it. So yeah, this movie was fine. It kept my attention enough and I decently enjoyed myself. It's not like good, but it's miraculously not bad. And you could do so much worse on Netflix. Boy, I hope we're done with the absolutely terrible shit. That would be awesome. Do you think we're done with the absolutely terrible shit? Do you?
No.
I can't see! I can't see!
Bird Box. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. Like I said, I have at least heard of this movie before. I remember when it was a big pop culture phenomenon when it released in 2018. Fun fact, actually, this is the only movie in the Netflix top 10 that came out in the 2010s and not the 2020s. So it's held on to this high position in the rankings longer than any other Netflix original. Surely that means it's an enduring classic that people still talk about to this day, right? No. To be fair, it certainly was all the rage when it came out, which is more than I could say about a lot of these other movies in the top 10. People were doing the Bird Box challenge where they had to do a bunch of tasks blindfolded. It was comparable to such other classics of the time, like the Ice Bucket challenge and the Tide Pod challenge. Apparently a toddler ran into a wall while blindfolded. Jake Paul drove his car while blindfolded, which violated YouTube's community guidelines and also the law. Probably. A 17-year-old in Utah crashed their car while blindfolded after driving into oncoming traffic. Someone in Britain stood on a railway track while blindfolded. You gotta understand, it's for the content. They had to do this all for the content. You know, it's funny how the blindfolds aren't even that big of a deal in the movie. Like, yeah, the imagery most people associate with this movie is probably Sandra Bullock and those two kids blindfolded. But that's not even like half the movie. Obviously, you're not supposed to look at the monsters or whatever, but the blindfolds aren't really that big of a deal in the movie, to the point where theming a whole Bird Box challenge around them makes no sense. What I'm trying to say is that this whole thing was really stupid, and it was all for a movie that isn't even very good. Bird Box is another post-apocalyptic movie on this list, where slightly more things happen than leave the world behind, but not that many more. We cut back and forth between the present, where Sandra Bullock and the kids have blindfolds and they're traveling or whatever, and 5 years in the past, when this apocalypse actually started. Basically, there are monsters where if you look at them, they make you krill yourself. Except there are some people who don't instantly krill themselves. Some of them have a cult-like fascination with the monsters and try and force other people to see them. Why is that the case? I don't actually know. The movie didn't really explain it. The movie doesn't explain a lot about how these things work, and it's very inconsistent. Sometimes they make you hear the voices of dead friends and family. Other times, they don't. They do it to one lady right at the beginning, but then they never do it to Sandra Bullock until the last 10 minutes of the movie. The way people die in this is also very cartoonish and hard to take seriously. The movie is also very repetitive, as we're stuck in this one location for a while. It's not as bad as Leave the World Behind. We do leave to go to the grocery store, and we obviously cut back to the boat misadventure in the future now and then. But to balance things out, the writing in this movie is much weaker than Leave the World Behind. The characters are extremely flat and boring and have no dynamics. Apparently, Sandra Bullock was really inspired and moved by this other pregnant lady. And it's like, they had more than 2 conversations? The same thing with the last guy standing in this house after a crazy person makes the rest of them krill themselves. He's a guy, and Sandra Bullock is a lady, so that means they're in love now. I don't know where that came from. They just end up getting together romantically because, I don't know, they were bored. There's no chemistry and nothing in the narrative that makes this development make sense. The only performance I thought was interesting at all was John Malkovich as the grizzled asshole who ends up being right that they shouldn't take anyone in. Because the pregnant lady takes someone in without consulting with the rest of the group, and he turns out to be a crazy cult guy who kills everyone. Malkovich stay winning. He actually kills everyone at the moment where Sandra Bullock and the other pregnant lady are giving birth at the exact same time. They weren't even due in the same month, but they're just giving birth simultaneously. What even are the odds of that? Anyway, what can I say? It's just your typical post-apocalypse monster movie. Kinda just a lesser version of A Quiet Place, except instead of not making sound, you can't see. Ooh! There's some moderately engaging sequences with this limitation. Like, I like when they have to drive to the grocery store with all the windows boarded up, so they're just relying on GPS and hoping they don't hit anything. I think the opening sequence where the world falls apart is pretty cool. It made for a decently exciting set piece. Overall though, this movie is kinda boring. You would hope the stuff on the boat with the kids would be a little more engaging, but it really isn't. I just don't care about her relationship with them at all. I mean, she's so detached from love and nurture at this point that she doesn't even give them names. She calls them boy and girl. I get what they're going for. The apocalypse has made her so bitter and jaded that she's lost the capacity to truly care for other human beings in this way. But then, why should I care about them? The first half of the movie is barely about them. We only rarely cut to the blindfold stuff in the future, since it's mainly focused on the survivors holed up in this house. I basically have no attachment to any of these characters. The movie's just banking on your preconceived notion of, "Aww, I hope those kids don't die. Fuck them kids. They're annoying and I don't like them." But you know, obviously they live and I'm happy about that. Yay. It turns out this place Sandra Bullock was taking them to was a school for blind people. So they're all safe in this sanctuary because they are literally immune to the monsters. I mean, Sandra Bullock and the kids aren't. What if the monsters show up in this place? I guess it's a building and they can't go into buildings. I think that was previously established. What if the cult breaks into this place and try and drag the non-blind people out to see the monsters? I don't know, who cares? Sandra Bullock finally names the kids. The girl is named Pregnant Lady after the pregnant lady she had 2 conversations with. And the boy is named Guy I Randomly Hooked Up With, after the guy she randomly hooked up with. And then we get the big reveal that her doctor is still alive and living here with the blind survivors. Because I guess there were no other characters that we could have used for a big reveal that they survived. Just this random doctor from the first 5 minutes of the movie is here. Wow, that's awesome. This is a very stupid movie and I didn't like it very much. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen. It has some decently effective moments. But like, this was a cultural phenomenon? Really? Bird Box is an especially fascinating case among the top 10 Netflix movies, because we can clearly see that 8 years later, it did not have an enduring popular legacy. I bet you forgot it even existed until this video. And again, this was a movie that was popular when it came out. So if this movie didn't even stand the test of time and still get talked about after 8 years, what hope do Damsel and The Gray Man have? The most that came out of Bird Box was a random-ass spin-off sequel called Bird Box Barcelona that no one watched. Now this movie, I didn't even know about until making this video. Isn't that so sad? Bird Box has nothing and it is nothing. It was a complete fad that had its moment in the sun and then got quickly tossed aside by the general public. The only way I can possibly recommend it to people is if you put a blindfold on. And even then, I mean, you're still listening to it. Why are you wasting your time doing that?
Adam!
The Adam Project is somehow one of the better movies I had to watch as a part of this project. It sucks. Just a pretty bad time travel conspiracy thriller that has some decent moments here and there, but for the most part, it's equal parts bland, annoying, and stupid. This is the second of an iconic trilogy of collaborations between star Ryan Reynolds and director Shawn Levy. Their first collaboration was Free Guy, and their third collaboration was Deadpool and Wolverine, which we all agree now is a bad movie, right? You guys were mad at me when I said I didn't like it when it came out, but now we're all under the understanding that it sucks, right? In between these two beloved feature films is a movie I had never heard of, and yet apparently it is the 5th most popular film in Netflix history. Who are you people? Are you actually watching these? Did you put all these movies on by accident? So yeah, the plot of this movie is Ryan Reynolds goes back in time to 2022 for a top secret mission to destroy time travel once and for all. See, this evil lady, Catherine Keener, apparently went back in time and manipulated the time stream to gain a bunch of political influence and make the world a dystopia. Or something. Honestly, they say it's a dystopia that she caused, but they never really elaborate on why that is, nor do they actually show what the future looks like. Just, ooh, she's evil! She's definitely not a completely boring character who barely leaves any impression and barely has any screen time in the first half. She's so evil, we gotta stop her, guys! Unfortunately, Ryan Reynolds meant to go back to 2018, but he accidentally stopped in 2022 instead. Now he needs to enlist the help of his 12-year-old self, because the spaceship only works for someone who matches your DNA signature. Except it also doesn't work if you get injured. So Ryan Reynolds got shot, and now he is not able to use his ship because he got shot. The ship no longer lets him fly it. I'm sorry, that's just how it works. That's pretty much the only reason his 12-year-old self needs to be around, by the way. The kid barely accomplishes anything that normal Ryan Reynolds couldn't do himself. Also, great news! Since the only character Ryan Reynolds plays anymore is an insufferable quipster, it stands to reason that the kid version of him is also an insufferable quipster. He's about to get beaten up by a bully, and the bully's like, I'm gonna enjoy this. So the kid responds, who talks like that? Do you hear yourself? Did you order a bully starter kit on Amazon or something? Remember, friends, if your movie has cliche dialogue, all you have to do is make fun of the cliche dialogue, and now you're smart and self-aware. Trust me, it's not absolutely insufferable. It's actually really cool and epic to have your characters quip all the time. Because yeah, once Ryan Reynolds and Kid Ryan Reynolds meet up, it's Quip City, baby! Absolutely abhorrent. Bravo, Sean Levy. Honestly, I'm not going to complain too much about it here, because at a certain point they do cool it with a smarmy Deadpool act, and Ryan Reynolds becomes a lot more generically tolerable instead of constantly annoying. I'll save the rest of my complaints about him as an actor for another movie, where he remains insufferable throughout the entire film's runtime. Boy oh boy, I can't wait to get to that. Anyway, this movie. Yeah, the first 30 minutes are just kind of normal as we see the little asshole and the big asshole butt heads, but slowly start to get along. Honestly, some of the moments here, particularly when Ryan Reynolds talks about or to his mom, aren't half bad. It's pretty whatever. But then the movie remembers, oh yeah, we gotta have action. So evil Catherine Keener goes back in time to try and stop him. He then gets rescued by his wife, the lady from Emilia Perez, and she tells him that he needs to go back to 2018 and kill time travel forever. Wait, I thought that was his mission from the start? Oh no, his original mission was trying to find her, and then she shows up, she tells him to go destroy time travel, and that she can't go with him in the jet, because again, only one person with a unique DNA sequence can be in the jet at any given time. And then she gets shot in a really awkward fade to white edit. But don't worry, once Ryan Reynolds destroys time travel and fixes the future, maybe he can see sex change operation again in a better world that isn't an evil dystopia. Sure, whatever, I guess. So then Ryan Reynolds and the kid go back to 2018 and talk to their dad, Mark Ruffalo, who is dead in 2022. I guess he invented time travel or whatever. There are some nice scenes with him. I swear, this movie has some decent moments here and there that put it above a couple of the other pieces of irredeemable schlock in this top 10. I usually enjoy time travel stories, and I was moderately interested to see how this one played out. Plus, all the non-Ryan Reynolds performances were pretty solid. I mean, the kid also wasn't, but he was directed to act like the most insufferable actor in Hollywood. I don't blame him. Plus, apparently he went on to play Percy Jackson in the Disney Plus series, so clearly he's got something going for him acting-wise. But yeah, I don't know what else to say. The third act is just really boring, generic, schlocky action. At one point, the kid does a superhero landing and says, superhero landing, because remember in Deadpool when he says superhero landing, and so that's what this is. He does the superhero landing because Ryan Reynolds, and Ryan Reynolds is in Deadpool, and superhero landing. Did you know this movie's from the director of Free Guy? Oh no, evil Catherine Keener shot herself in the past and now she's gone and time travel's gone now. Because apparently Mark Ruffalo never told anyone else the formula for time travel. So they just deleted it off the reactor hard drive or whatever, and that's it, we saved the day. And I guess since the timeline is straightening itself out, Ryan Reynolds and Kid Ryan Reynolds will just disappear and go back to their own time. But they don't do it right away because they have to play catch with their dad first. Aw, how sweet. So now they're back in their own timelines. The kid hugs his mom because he vaguely remembers Ryan Reynolds telling him to do that. Ryan Reynolds is able to meet vaginoplasty makes the men happy in a world that isn't f***ed. And they all live happily ever after, except Mark Ruffalo, who's still dead. Lame-ass movie that takes turns being obnoxiously smarmy and just flat-out boring. You could tell the bones of this story could have been made into something really fun and engaging in the right hands. Probably because the bones of the story are just ripping off Terminator 2. Wow, a troubled kid gets to hang out with a macho cool guy from the future, and they have to stop something from ever being made. Wow. Is there any reason to watch this over Terminator 2? No, but at least it was slightly more tolerable than some of the other shit in this video. That counts for something, I suppose.
Don't look it up.
Oh, great. It's you. Don't Look Up is one of the two movies I had already seen before making this video. And much like most of the other films on this list, it's bad, but for completely different reasons than most of the rest of them. Don't Look Up is a movie that, unlike the vast majority of Netflix original films, absolutely has something to say. It's a social satire of the general public's indifference to climate change, using a comet that's hurtling towards Earth and threatening to wipe out all life as a metaphor for this. Okay, I hate to state the obvious basic flaw with this premise, but that doesn't make any sense. Humans aren't responsible for the existence of an extinction comet like they are for man-made climate change. And using an event that has a clear date for instant doomsday instead of a slow, impending series of natural disasters removes a lot of the nuance of this conflict, but whatever. There's an event that threatens to cause the extinction of humanity and nobody cares. I got it. No, seriously, I get it before I even watched a single frame of this 138-minute movie. Are you excited to get bludgeoned to death by one of the most obnoxiously preachy and self-serving films ever made? Well then, do I have a treat for you. The thing I have to make clear right off the bat is that on a fundamental level, I agree with Don't Look Up and what it's saying. Yeah, I think people are stupid enough that they would react this way. Yes, Elon Musk would 100% lobby the government to mine a doomsday comet to get even richer, instead of letting them blow it up and save humanity. By and large, this is a fairly accurate representation of how idiotic our modern culture is. So it's a truly impressive feat that this manages to be one of the most insufferable movies I've ever seen. There are no characters in this movie, only mouthpieces for the good or bad messages. Said mouthpieces will scream directly at the camera what the movie's trying to say. And since I've progressed past the age of 10, I do not find this to be a very compelling way of getting these messages across. Even when one of the great actors in this stupidly top-notch ensemble threatens to make a scene work, it'll soon get undercut with either a terrible edit or a shitty joke. Honestly, those are way bigger problems than how unsubtly the movie gets its message across. Don't Look Up truly has some of the worst editing I've ever seen in a major motion picture. There are so many scenes that cut to random bullshit, cut to a different scene in the middle of an actor's line before they can finish it. There are scenes where the movie cuts a few seconds forward in time within the same shot. There are scenes where the movie cuts back to a previous location the character's already left. My personal favorite is at the end when a character is talking at the dinner table, but then as we still hear the audio of them talking, it cuts to a shot of them eating, which then freezes for a couple seconds.
I actually like the junky taste of store-bought better than homemade.
What the f*** is that about? I've complained about this particular shot before, and people have tried to justify it by saying it's meant to represent the broadcast cutting out. Really? Are you sure? If it happened multiple times in this scene, maybe. Or if it was just the freeze frame, okay, I guess. But the character talking over a shot where he's eating all of a sudden? That's fucking ridiculous. It looks so unprofessional and not purposeful in the slightest. I obviously don't think it was a mistake, but the fact that it looks so much like a mistake and doesn't convey anything well at all is just infuriating. This shit was nominated for Best Editing at the Oscars, and Best Original Screenplay, and Best Picture. This fucking travesty was a Best Picture nominee because, the message is so good. Never mind the fact that the message is not only undermined by a stupid metaphor and an extreme lack of subtlety, but it's also undermined by so much terrible humor. This is an Adam McKay joint, ladies and germs. For some reason, the Academy has a hard-on for this guy's work. He started out making some classic comedies, from Anchorman to Talladega Nights to the other guys. Okay, he's a funny guy who makes funny, well-liked movies. That's nice. Except this wasn't enough for Adam. He made a wish to be a real boy. And so he ended up directing The Big Short, a humorous satirical comedy drama about the 2008 financial crisis. This is where he started getting Oscar success, earning nominations for Best Picture, Best Director, and winning Best Adapted Screenplay. And I remember liking The Big Short. I thought it was actually a pretty solid stepping stone for McKay's career. Unfortunately, I think this movie's success went to his head a little bit too much. He followed this up with Vice, another comedy drama about Dick Cheney. I haven't seen this movie, but despite it also getting a couple Oscar nominations, people have called it very polarizing, a little too smug and unsubtle. Do you see where we're going with this? Don't Look Up is the culmination of all of McKay's worst instincts as a filmmaker. Not only is it more insufferably smug than many thought possible, but it is so damn unfunny. This man has somehow completely forgotten how to write a joke, and the movie is unfortunately littered with so much awful attempted humor. One of the first jokes in the movie is Leo and J-Law getting on the phone with a government agency they've never heard of, and they ask, "Is that a real agency?" The movie then freeze frames and displays text that tells you, yes, it is a real agency. Here is their logo. I'm sorry, was there a joke there? Was that meant to be funny? I actually don't know. The movie is littered with so many awful attempts at humor that either don't land from a writing standpoint or are just so awkwardly edited that they get completely mangled. The cast is seriously trying their best from a comedic and dramatic standpoint, and there are a handful of kind of funny jokes and decently effective dramatic moments. I like that scene towards the end where they're all having dinner together and accepting their fate. I like the running gag where J-Law's upset that the guy at the White House charged them for snacks that were apparently free. I like when Leo tells the Sesame Street puppet that everyone's gonna die. Tim Cham is kind of funny in this. One thing I noticed on this rewatch was how Leo was invited to the president's inner circle, likely because he's a white man, while his white woman and black man colleagues are left out. Look, the movie made a point and it was subtle about it. It didn't beat you over the head pointing out what it was doing. Yeah, I mean, it has some good scenes, and I generally agree with its message. I don't really like or respect Adam McKay as a filmmaker, but he does seem to have pretty good politics. I have to give him credit there. I just think he made an insufferable, overly long, trite piece of garbage that was a fundamentally worthless viewing experience. This shit probably could have been a short film. There is so much you don't need in this. It's so repetitive, it's so annoying. There's a weird ass subplot about Leo cheating on his wife that goes nowhere. They show internet memes of the characters in this and they're all terrible. I don't like this movie at all. It's pretty much the embodiment of that Homelander meme about someone expressing an opinion so obnoxiously that you don't want to agree. Maybe I'd rate this higher if it either wasn't trying so hard to be funny or if it was actually funny. Or if it was edited by a person with a functioning brain. Is that too much to ask? Carry on, mama. Carry On is actually pretty good? Wait, hold on. That can't be right. It's a Netflix original movie. There's no way it's actually entertaining and well made, but it is. We got one, guys. The first one of these movies that I actually genuinely thought was good. I really thought they would make me wait all the way up until KPop Demon Hunters for one of these, but no. I like this one. Taron Egerton plays a TSA agent who becomes a pawn in an evil terrorist conspiracy orchestrated by Jason Bateman of all people. At first, you only hear his voice and it's unnaturally sexy, like way more than Jason Bateman usually sounds. But then you see him in person and he looks greasy as shit. I guess we can't have it all, huh? It's very fun seeing the two of them play off of each other as Bateman constantly threatens and manipulates Egerton, balancing between sinister and murderous, while also acting a little bit sassy and criticizing Egerton's life choices and relationship issues. I really enjoyed both of their performances and watching Egerton find clever ways to worm his way out of impossible situations. There are a lot of pretty tense and dramatic scenes, like when Bateman tells him he needs to shoot his boss, ASAC Schrader, and I legit didn't know if he was actually gonna do it or not. Part of me does feel like maybe he shouldn't have been able to get away with everything he does. Like, you could definitely argue the terrorists aren't keeping the noose around his girlfriend's neck tight enough. This is especially apparent when Bateman eventually does order his goon to kill the girlfriend, and he is just really bad at it, dude. Like, how did this guy become a professional killer? He's just really dumb. There's also this subplot with this LAPD detective that isn't quite as interesting as the main plot, while also taking a little while to connect to it. It does include a cool one-take fight scene in a car, but that very much pushed my suspension of disbelief, and also felt like something from an entirely different movie. I honestly have no idea how she even survived that, let alone kept walking around like nothing happened for the rest of the movie. But even when this film could get a little kooky now and then, it still remains solidly entertaining and a pretty fun action flick. I don't really have that much to say about it, other than the fact that it just doesn't feel like a Netflix movie. I mean, it's just straight up a real movie. It looks like a real movie. It isn't written in a hacky and cringy way like a lot of these other Netflix originals. I mean, I had decently elevated hopes when I saw the DreamWorks logo at the beginning of the film, because it made me realize, oh, Netflix only paid for the rights to distribute this. It was produced by a real movie studio and not just the Slop Factory. Very similar story to KPop Demon Hunters, which is entirely the brainchild of Sony Animation. Well, I'm excited to finally talk about that movie to close this video out. Wait. We're only at number 3? What the hell is number 2 then? Red Notice? What the f could that possibly be about? Oh no. Oh no! This is terrible! Don't touch me!
Kalel, no!
I don't want to talk about Red Notice. Please don't make me talk about Red Notice. Please. I would literally rather do anything else than talk about Red Notice right now. It's not that it's one of the most abominable movies I've ever watched. I mean, that is true. It is. But that isn't the specific reason why I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it because there's nothing to say. It is painfully generic and doesn't spark interest at any point. Throughout the excruciating 2 hours, I sat glued to my couch, forcing myself to bear witness to its sheer blandness. But it also features the most abominable trio of actors ever conceived for a $200 million film. The Rock is fine. I mean, he's not fine. He's really boring in this. It feels like he doesn't want to be there at all. But I can't say I found his performance infuriating at all. It's like if you just put an actual, literal rock on screen. That's the performance he gives. Nothing to say about it, but I guess nothing to complain about other than his utter lack of charisma. Speaking of which, Gal Gadot, noted terrible person and terrible actress who can't deliver a single line in this movie well. She sucks, as you might expect, but she's also not really in enough of the movie for her performance to be the single worst attribute. That honor goes to Ryan Reynolds, who I'm only just now realizing after watching this movie is someone I cannot f***ing stand in the slightest. He used to be a real actor who played characters and had different personalities in movies, depending on the character he played. Then Deadpool got successful, and from now on, he exclusively plays Deadpool. He has so many quips in this movie, and not a single one of them is funny. He never turns it off. He never believably becomes this master thief character. I mean, none of the Central 3 actors do, but him especially. It's just his usual tired, painfully unfunny shtick for 118 minutes. Do you have any idea how insufferable that is? It's seriously the main factor dragging this down from like a solid 4 out of 10 to a fucking 2. The rest of these movies are bad, but they're not this consistently, unyieldingly annoying. What the fuck is wrong with Ryan Reynolds? Why can't he act in a movie again? I mean, don't get me wrong. Obviously, from a technical acting standpoint, Gal Gadot is way worse in this movie. But I legit never want to hear Ryan Reynolds' voice again after this. It is seriously that bad. You never buy that he and The Rock are getting closer or learning to care about each other at any point. The dialogue is loaded with so much exposition that lays out who the characters are and what their whole deal is, since we can't trust our dumb, 5-year-old baby-brained audience to pick up any of this themselves. The Rock will just be psychoanalyzing Ryan Reynolds 15 minutes into the movie as a way of telling us, okay, this guy is a thief who doesn't work well with others, and he always goes all out in big and flashy ways, and he has daddy issues. Oh my god, can you show us any of these things? Why do we need The Rock to tell us all of this information? Do you know how to write a fucking movie? But then they're forced to work together and get these 3 eggs that belong to Cleopatra before Gal Gadot can. And they're bonding as they do it, apparently. I don't know why. The Rock acts completely annoyed that he has to deal with this fucking guy for almost the entire film. I absolutely do not blame him. But I guess they're bonding and becoming friends as they compete with Master Thief Gal Gadot. At one point, she and The Rock are dancing at a party together, and I think it's supposed to be sexy, but they have zero chemistry and it's extremely awkward. It's like I'm watching a high school play every time Gal Gadot was on screen. Actually, that's really mean. I've seen some good performances in high school plays. At one point, she pours champagne, and all I could think was, enough champagne to fill the Nile. The plot is also really standard and boring. It's kind of just Mission Impossible 3, but bad. Wow, they gotta go to Rome, and they gotta use a bad guy's face and voice to complete their mission. And there's a part where they pretend to spill something on someone, and a lady in a red dress. And earlier, there was also a helicopter chase or something. Why am I watching this? I could be watching any of the Mission Impossibles. I don't even like 2 that much, but the artistry that went into that movie, compared to basically everything on this list, twist. Oh, bucko, you better believe I'd rather watch that 50 times before ever seeing a frame of Red Notice again. Then for some reason, Ryan Reynolds and The Rock have to fight a bull in this bad green screen world they accidentally got transported to, and they quip a bunch instead of doing anything about the bull, so The Rock gets hit with the bull and he's not dead for some reason. That's disappointing. But then they go to Argentina for the last egg and the movie suddenly becomes Indiana Jones. Just to make that point clear, Ryan Reynolds is wearing an Indiana Jones fedora, and when they go in the bunker, he whistles the Indiana Jones theme. Reference! Then they get the last egg that belonged to a secret Nazi treasure collector or something. But oh no, Gal Gadot is here too, and also the feds are here, so they have to go away. They escape in this car that Ryan Reynolds conveniently exposited about the capabilities of 5 minutes ago. So we know it's a good car that can withstand a lot of damage because he told us directly. He stared directly at the camera and told us, wow, this is a great car. It has a lot of reinforced capabilities, and it probably even still runs despite being down here for like 70 years. Don't worry about it, it's still gonna run. Bro, just trust me. Then they all escape in the car because, well, yeah, of course they do. What an exciting chase scene. It does not look poorly lit and poorly shot and colorless and drab and fake and soulless. This is the best movie of my life, I think. I've seen like one of them. But okay. Are you ready for the big twist? It turns out this whole time, The Rock and Gal Gadot were a couple who were secretly working together to trick Ryan Reynolds into getting them all 3 of the eggs. Honestly, I didn't even see this coming. You know what? I kind of like this twist, actually. It's like the one thing in the movie I like. Mainly because it implies that The Rock really was annoyed by this quippy asshole the entire time and not actually growing closer to him. That actually fixes one of the movie's core issues. I mean, now there's an issue that the movie has no emotional core instead of a bad emotional core, but I just like seeing the Ryan Reynolds character unhappy and betrayed. They should have killed him. That would have made me even happier. So they bring the eggs to this billionaire in Egypt, and then we get the best scene of all. The random Ed Sheeran cameo. He gets arrested by the feds, and he's like, "I'm Ed Sheeran, bitch." On Twitter, Netflix described this scene as iconic. Are we sure about that? Is anything about the formerly most watched Netflix movie of all time with 230 million views iconic in the slightest? Does anybody talk about this movie at all? Do regular people say, oh wow, I loved Red Notice, that's one of my favorite movies nowadays? Did they even say that at the time it came out? This movie released in 2021, and I had not heard a single peep about it until the news broke that K-Pop Demon Hunters surpassed it. It is a black hole of entertainment, headlined by 3 of the most uncharismatic stars on the planet, doing some of their worst work ever, and yet their names were clearly enough to draw in a big enough crowd of people to throw it on in the background while scrolling on TikTok. People like to call the MCU the death of culture or whatever, but I dare you to find a single MCU movie that is as bad as this one. It doesn't exist. Even Deadpool and Wolverine, which some people like to claim is the worst movie of all time, like, I don't even like it, but at least Hugh Jackman is actually trying in that movie. No one involved in the production of Red Notice tried even a little bit. It is insufferable. It is borderline unwatchable. I can't even begin to describe the agony I felt while sitting through it. I am genuinely offended that this was ever allowed to be the most watched film on any streaming service, let alone one as ubiquitous to pop culture as Netflix. But the good news is, our long national nightmare is over. There's a new queen in town, and she demolished the view count of Red Notice while also having the self-respect to be an actual, real movie. Let's talk about the most popular Netflix film of all time, with a whopping 325 million views. K-Pop Demon Hunters.
We're going up, 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 up. It's a moment.
It's good. Okay. It only really makes sense to give this film as proper a review as the rest of the movies in the top 10. But honestly, do I even really need to? K-Pop Demon Hunters was the unexpected smash hit of 2025. A movie that took the world by storm, hooking kids and adults alike with its addictive songs, stylish animation, and lovable characters. It took home 2 Oscars recently for Best Animated Feature and Best Original Song for its infectious, chart-topping power ballad, Golden. You know it, you probably love it, and I have to say it's overrated. I mean, don't get me wrong, I have a ton of fun with it, and I've rewatched it over and over. It's a really fresh and incredibly enjoyable experience, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't have problems with it. It is a strong as hell 7 out of 10 movie for me, and every time I go into a rewatch thinking I'm gonna bump that score up, no, not quite, unfortunately. Obviously, the best attribute this movie has is its killer soundtrack. I don't think anyone can deny that. I've already made a video talking at length about all 7 of the original songs, so I won't delve into them too much here. But even the weakest song in the movie to me is still like a solid 7.5 out of 10, with most of the others being much higher. I really cannot praise the music enough. It's the main element of the film that keeps me coming back to it and thinking about it on a regular basis. I also just think the concept is so unique and cool. I love the lore this movie presents regarding music being able to drive back demons and seal the Han Moon. The whole angle of a demon boy band endangering the world by stealing the girls' fans is so novel and creative. And Rumi's struggle to accept her half-demon self is a really interesting idea. I'll never forget how taken aback I was with that reveal of her patterns during Golden. It's a great story hook. The girls are all very likable and fun. Obviously, I'm a day one Zoe stan, but I don't know. Mira's really speaking to me a lot more these days. She's so cool. Sony's once again pushing great boundaries with their eye-popping animation. There are a ton of funny moments and some overall great energy to the whole film. It's just a really fun time, I will not lie. Just kidding, I just lied. Truth be told, as much as the world and characters of this movie just tantalize me to no end and make me want to boot up Fortnite right now and get some more victory royales with the Mira skin, the movie itself has a couple of issues holding it back for me. I've said it before, but I think I'm a bigger fan of K-Pop Demon Hunters the brand more than K-Pop Demon Hunters the movie. Mainly, it's the generic story that holds it back a tad for me. You know how it is. It's a liar-revealed plot that they just play completely straight. Oh, brother. It's not like this isn't a valid thing for Rumi to lie about. I mean, it is a hell of a secret, and I can understand her wanting to keep it from the other girls. But God, there are just so many opportunities for her to be honest with them about it. I just don't know if the movie sold me enough on the idea that Mira and Zoe wouldn't understand. I think what they needed to do was really play up the fact that Celine's influence is what's holding Rumi back from telling the truth. But I don't think that came across enough at all. And that just might be my biggest problem with the movie. It feels like Celine wasn't present enough in the story. Her influence is what's looming over Rumi and the other girls the whole time. And yet, it feels like we don't know anything about her. There needed to be at least one more scene with her in the present. Like maybe Rumi has a moment where she's about to come clean about her patterns, but then Celine shows up and reinforces to Rumi the need to not let her faults be seen. As is, it doesn't feel like there's a good enough reason for Rumi to continue lying to Mira and Zoe, especially when they mock the sort of advice Celine would give them. You're all adults, I think they can handle the truth. Unless the movie made it clear that Celine still has a lot of influence over Rumi's life and her decisions. But it honestly kind of feels like they barely check in with each other. And she's not the only character that I wish received more focus, because honestly, sometimes it feels like Mira and Zoe don't have that much agency either. Especially Zoe. Mira gets that nice heart-to-heart scene with Rumi, which Zoe has absolutely no equivalent for. The movie kind of puts all of its cards into fleshing out Rumi and Jinu, and their characters and struggles individually are pretty good, but is it fair to say that I don't really care about them at all as a couple? They just don't have that interesting of a dynamic. It's funny when Jinu refuses to help her up or giggles while he runs away from her, but at the end of the day, it's still that same guy acting like a jerk at first until it's revealed he has a heart of gold dynamic that we've seen in a bunch of animated kids movies lately. So much goes into this fine enough but not super interesting romance between the two of them, and then he just dies. I kind of hope they find some way to bring him back in the sequel, just so I don't have to feel like all this effort building up their relationship was a waste of time. Speaking of which, I've seen some people speculate that they could possibly make a K-Pop Demon Hunters trilogy with each installment focusing on a different member of Huntrix. And like, Honestly, I think that's mandatory considering how Rumi-centric this one was, at the expense of Mira and Zoe. I like Rumi and all, but I love Mira and Zoe, and I think they have way more engaging personalities. If anything, I want to see them pull a Guardians of the Galaxy and establish that this was Mira's story all along or something. I just think we told Rumi's story here, and it was good and well done in spite of the whole liar reveal cliche. Now, I think the priority should be making the other girls matter just as much. It is a trio after all. Anyway, back to this movie. While plenty of jokes are really funny, there's also plenty of lame or overly juvenile ones. I'd say there's only one bad joke for every 3 good ones though, so it's not a huge issue. And I know I said I wouldn't talk about the songs too much, but dude, Free is so awkwardly implemented and out of place. It's a good song, but my girlfriend and I laughed out loud when they started singing it. It just does not fit, and the visuals are pretty underwhelming on top of that. The climax of the film also hinges on the weakest song, but it's still a very good scene regardless. Look, I know I spent a lot of time complaining, but the truth is, I think K-Pop Demon Hunters and the massive success it's received is cool as hell. I have my problems with it, but for a movie this unique and inventive, with songs that rip this hard to take the world by storm like this, yeah, I honestly can't complain. I think what Academy Award winner Maggie Kang accomplished here, bringing this awesome conflict to life based on her heritage and experiences, is incredibly commendable. And I'm happy for her co-director Chris Applehands as well. I remember his previous movie Wish Dragon not being amazing, but still exceeding my expectations and showing a lot of promise. It reminds me a lot of Joel Crawford making the pretty underrated Crude's A New Age, before striking it big with Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, and the upcoming Forgotten Island, which looks great. Sony Animation has a clear winner on their hands with this movie. Or they would, except they willingly let Netflix take it out of their hands, because I guess they didn't have enough faith in it. Oops! Some people have argued that K-Pop Demon Hunters only reached this level of massive success because of Netflix, which not only allows people to watch movies from the comfort of their own home, but also has a built-in audience for a movie like this, thanks to all the Korean shows they distribute. It's impossible to say how this movie would have done if it was released in theaters, but I think word of mouth still would have gotten out and gotten plenty of eyes on it. I certainly see the argument that Netflix is the reason it became a global phenomenon, but that doesn't really stop it from being a little bit annoying that Netflix has all the rights to a movie they had no involvement in the production of. I guess I don't really care that much if one giant corporation gets the credit for something instead of another giant corporation, but I do hope people at least know that this is a Sony Animation production. The passionate studio Sony Animation isn't the same as the evil conglomerate Sony. But yeah, that's K-Pop Demon Hunters, the most popular Netflix movie of all time that basically has nothing to do with Netflix. That's pretty funny, I think. And that was the top 10 most popular Netflix movies of all time. Oh my god, that was painful. I wish I could say I was shocked at how bad the vast majority of these were, but I'm not. It's actually kind of remarkable how barely any of these have left a long-term impact. They are made to be chewed up and spit out almost immediately. Disposable content to get you watching that won't leave you with anything to remember fondly in the years to come. The only exceptions are movies like K-Pop Demon Hunters that were made by artists who wanted to tell a good story. And said good story just happened to land on Netflix. That's the exception here. You know, recently Netflix opened up their first big retail stores in Philadelphia and Dallas. Well, they said Philadelphia, but they're fucking lying. It's King of Prussia, which is 20 miles outside of Philly, but I digress. I've been to Netflix house at the King of Prussia Mall quite a few times, gotten to see a lot of the attractions and merchandise they have representing the Netflix brand. There's a lot of stuff from Stranger Things, Bridgerton, Squid Game, Wednesday, live action One Piece, and of course, K-Pop Demon Hunters. There's also small references to other stuff I vaguely recognize, like BoJack Horseman or Is It Cake? But do you know what you're not gonna see a reference to at Netflix House? Red Notice. Well, why ever not? It's only the second most popular movie in the history of the platform. Where are the epic Gal Gadot and Ryan Reynolds and The Rock standees for you to take pictures with? Where are the Adam Project t-shirts? Or the Gray Man hoodies? Or the cozy plushies of the epic girl boss dragon from Damsel? Why wouldn't Netflix House have extensive merchandise for 9 of their 10 extremely iconic movies that they proudly display on their website as the most popular Netflix original films of all time? Is it possible that nobody actually cares about them and they were all passing fads that have no long-term artistic worth to offer audiences? No, that can't be true. I mean, what about the Bird Box Challenge? We all did the Bird Box Challenge 8 years ago and then completely forgot about it. Huh. Yeah, I don't think I like Netflix original movies that much. Most of them appeal to a wide range of people who can half pay attention while doing something else on their phone, but it's highly unlikely they'll retain anything from the experience. And call me crazy, but I think movies should be more than passive time wasters. They should engage and enthrall you, suck you into a new world for a couple of hours, and allow you to get taken with a director's unique vision. And it's not like there aren't good movies that technically qualify as Netflix originals. Movies like Roma, Marriage Story, The Irishman, Tick Tick Boom, the Knives Out sequels, Frankenstein, Pinocchio, Klaus, Lost in Starlight. Netflix distributes great movies every now and then, but as you can see by this top 10, those aren't the kind of movies that most Netflix viewers are interested in. They just want cheap fast food cinema that offers so little in terms of elements that'll stick with you for longer than a week. But I guess there is a silver lining here, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but it's K-pop Demon Hunters. This movie has certainly stuck with people longer than a week. It's not a masterpiece or anything, but it was made with love and care by artists who wanted to tell a unique, stylized, and wonderful story. And the fact that this is now sitting atop the Netflix leaderboard instead of an affront to cinema like Red Notice honestly makes me really happy. It gives me hope that Netflix audiences will watch better stuff from here on out and try and seek out movies that'll actually stick with them for a while due to the artistry on display instead of just the stars that happen to be adorning the poster. Time will tell, I suppose. Anyway, I guess there's only one thing left to do. Rank all 10 of these movies. That's right. If you thought you were getting out of a Shea Frillis video without a ranking of some kind, you got another thing coming, bucko. From best to worst, since there's more suspense that way, obviously K-pop Demon Hunters is at the top. It's the closest this list of 10 has to a great movie, even if I wouldn't quite say it achieves that moniker. But it is very, very good, and I can't wait for the sequel in 2037 or whatever. Netflix really needs to commission some shorts with new songs pronto. Anyway, next is Carry On, the only other good movie on this list. It's just a fun action thriller that's actually well made, unlike, you know, all 8 of the remaining films. Third place goes to Back in Action. This one's just some dumb fun. Pretty stupid at times, but it's the last movie on this list I had an actual good time with. Next up, I don't know, Leave the World Behind, I guess. Out of the remaining 7, this is the closest to being a real movie. It has some good scenes with good dialogue and good performances. Too bad it's really f***ing boring and goes nowhere. Next up is, I don't know, I'm gonna say Bird Box and then The Adam Project. These two are kind of interchangeable. They both have their moments, but they also both really suck, and I'm only giving Bird Box the edge because it doesn't have Ryan Reynolds in it. I'm so f***ing sick of Ryan Reynolds, dog. I think I said in the Adam Project segment that this was one of the better movies on the list, but then I thought about Ryan Reynolds' punchable face and I changed my mind. It just barely squeaked into the bottom half. Fourth to last is Don't Look Up. I honestly cannot believe out of all the Best Picture nominees Netflix distributed, this is the only one in the top 10. If there was ever a movie that needed to get shoved into a locker, it was this one. Bad, smug, self-aggrandizing, and it's not even funny to boot. Third to last is Damsel. I still have trouble waking up and remembering that this is even a real movie. Like, there's no way, right? This has to be a prank, right? Our runner-up for the worst of the worst is The Gray Man. I think the Russos should be put into medieval stockades until further notice. This is one of the dullest attempts at an action movie I've ever seen, and I refuse to believe anyone actually watched it. 139 million people just left their TVs on by accident, and it autoplayed The Gray Man because the algorithm knew it was the scientifically designed best movie on the platform to put people to sleep. Even more so than the worst Netflix original I've ever seen that leaves you too infuriated to even think about sleeping, Red Notice. Everyone involved in the production of this movie should be completely embarrassed and never work in Hollywood again. Ryan Reynolds in this movie might actually be the most annoying character in cinematic history. This might have the worst screenplay of all time. I'm Ed Sheeran, bitch!
Sorry.
That's okay. Anyway, leave a comment of what your favorite epic Red Notice moment was. I'm sure you remember so many of them because the movie is so iconic and so beloved. Good night, Red Notice Nation.
Whew. Alright, glad that video is finally done. It really took a lot out of me, but now I can finally release it. What was that? My list isn't accurate? No, if you go to Netflix's website, it has all these movies on it. No. I took so long to get this video out that Damsel isn't on the list anymore. I watched Damsel for nothing. I didn't need to subject myself to Damsel. Are you f***ing kidding me? I watched one of the biggest pieces of shit in cinematic history and wrote an entire segment about it, only for some f***ass war movie to swoop in out of nowhere on the week I plan to release the video and swipe the number 10 spots? My video is outdated before it even released! You're telling me 139 people watched War Machine? A movie I've never heard of until right this moment? What are you f***ing talking about? Is this some sort of joke? This is a real movie that exists and managed to become one of the 10 most viewed films in Netflix history, despite nobody on the face of the earth talking about it for the past 3 months? What kind of sick, twisted game are you freaks running, Netflix? Are you just gonna keep making up movies until the end of time and pretending they got all these views just to f*** with me specifically? Cause that's what it feels like right now. War Machine is not a real movie. That's just the Don Cheadle character from Marvel. What are the characters in this movie gonna say? Boom, you looking for this? War Machine coming at you? I hope whoever came up with the concept of this list burns in hell because they have truly ruined my life beyond repair. I hate Damsel, I hate War Machine before I've even seen it, and I hate Netflix! Okay, I guess I have to talk about War Machine now.
Boom. Are you looking? Why do I even talk to you guys?
Honestly, it was better than Damsel. The fact that it kicked Damsel off the list is kind of a net positive. Does that mean it's good? Say it with me now. No. It's honestly just really boring. Like, there's not that much to say about it. There's no Don Cheadle. He doesn't say, boom, you looking for this? It's just about some war people. Oh, goody. The US military is so great. Everybody loves them. And they have to fight a big alien robot thingy. The effects on the robot actually look pretty good. In general, this looks much more like a real movie than a lot of Netflix garbage. But like, the robot isn't really that exciting. Yeah, it's a threat, but a pretty standard one that just uses normal Earth tech like missiles and grenades. Do something a little cooler with a robot alien. I don't know. At least the robot is more interesting than every human character in the movie. Dude, they suck ass. They don't have any dynamics or camaraderie. The fucking Mandalorian and Grogu movie had better characterization than this. Every single one of these cadets doesn't even have a name, just a number. They'll say shit like, oh, we need to go back and save 7. Like, no, not 7. Aren't you emotionally invested in 7? The main guy is 81 and he has PTSD from when his brother got blowed up. As a result, he doesn't play well with others and tries to do everything himself instead of being part of a team. Wow, I wonder if that will change over the course of the movie. Yeah, I didn't really care about him or any of the other cadets. I was only mildly engaged by the film when the robot was on screen, and even then, it's nowhere near the coolest evil killer robot in cinematic history. Occasionally, there will be a dumbass line like this one guy says, "You're telling me this thing is from another planet?" And then 81 says, "Well, it sure as shit ain't from Earth." Wow, what a great deduction. That line added so much. Wow, good job. Give yourself a round of applause, writers. But aside from stuff like that, most of the dialogue is just really dull and forgettable. In terms of solid stuff, the effects are decent. There's a nice oneer shot in the middle of the film. I like when 81 pins the robot down with a construction vehicle. And it's funny how the ending is literally just War of the Worlds, where it reveals the aliens attacked the entire world. Wow, how original. I'm telling you, there's just nothing to say about this film. It's not fun to watch, and it's not fun to make fun of. Maybe it's a good thing Damsel got thrown in this video. At least Jess and I had stuff to say about it. If I had to throw War Machine on the ranking, I'd put it between Damsel and Leave the World Behind. So on the current list, it's still in the bottom 3, but at least it's better than The Gray Man and Red Notice. Okay, there. Now the video is out and it reflects the list as of June 2026. I'm not adding anything else. I heard that shitty looking animated movie where Michael B. Jordan switches bodies with a bird or whatever got a shit ton of views, and it might show up on this list after its first 90 days of release are up. But it's too late. It missed the cutoff. I'm not talking about it. Enough is enough! Just go watch War of the Worlds 2025 again. It is more entertaining than half of the movies we talked about in this video. Okay, for real now. Good night, Red Notice Nation.